There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no, which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print, say that this thing has got to go, and we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign.
All right. So many steps to get us on air, but here we are. Okay. Hello, cousins. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Social Contract. As ever, I am joined by my illustrious, intelligent co-host, Mr. Mayor Jared. Hello, Jared. How are you today?
What is going on? I am doing well. Hey.
Great. Glad to hear it. He hosted a solo show last week that is been pretty popular on the internets, where he started our proletariat book club sessions. So if you want to check that out, he evaluates and gets back into his teaching roots and gives a neat breakdown using Michael Hudson's super imperialism. So which is exactly what it sounds like. So you can check that out.
Most important book ever. Everyone should read it.
Yeah, I wanted to shout that out because he held the show down by himself last week, and that was pretty cool. So thank you for doing that. So you guys heard anything in the news lately? Anything going on this week? Because pretty insane. Hopefully we have enough to fill an hour. Oh my goodness. So it's usually, for some reason, stuff always happens while we're on the air, and we're sitting here like, I wonder what's gonna happen. And we get off and something's going on. So we don't know right now if something's going on. We're kind of in the bubble at the moment, but we hope that everything can stay kind of chill for at least the time that we are going to be talking about what's already going down. Which, as you know, quick recap: we pretty much started off like last week, this week with this whole bitch fight scenario going on between Trump versus Musk as he was exiting the White House. And we'll unpack that a little bit. We'll also talk about the things that are obviously going on, which are, as soon as that happened, like the Democrats immediately started oozing out of the woodwork. And I do say oozing because that's literally what they did, because they were after the Musk bucks, and they were immediately trying to be like, let's get him and make him into a not villain. They will love this. This is what the people will love, knowing that he's universally hated, but just shows you how completely inept and disgusting that the Democrats are, that they would do that immediately. I mean, like, zero time wasted there. We also, of course, saw the Freedom Flotilla, or as the Israelis said, the selfie yacht.
Somebody else called it I think they just said like the hate flotilla, and that was really funny.
Hate flotilla. Oh, it was so funny. I thought the best part of that, at first I was like, you assholes, because of course they are, but it was just so juvenile. But then I immediately was like, oh, they're doing this because they're so bothered. It's great. I actually love this. And then
It's
the
like
whole
you gotta
thing
try. Whoever the social media people are, they're like, we gotta write something.
We got it right, exactly. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm just so excited about this because there was this. I wish people would be talking about it more because it was kind of a blip in all of this that's happened. But then the defense minister, who's been bitching the whole time, have been calling itself a yacht and whatever that, and then they're apprehended and this, that, and the other. And they're like, they're in good spirits. We gave them sandwiches, and they loved them. They were like, they took all this crew, this 12-person crew, and they herded them into this room, and they tried to make them watch this propaganda movie where they were showing them footage from when they like fucking Hannibal directive their own people, and we're like, look at what Hamas did, and they wouldn't watch, and it made them so mad. He tweeted about it. He was like, they wouldn't even look at it. They would not refuse to look at it.
Is that the secret footage that all the Congress people say they have seen that like apparently convinced them? Or
I think it was just some horseshit propaganda video. It could have been like anything that they made up. I don't know if it was that.
Remember that people would come out of, you'd have some, they'd be like, Senator, why do you blah, blah, blah? And it's like, after what they showed me, it's like, what's that tape? Show us, where's the secret tape that has all the evidence in it that we aren't allowed to see?
Exactly. So that delighted me. I thought that was great, that he was so mad that they wouldn't watch this stupid video that he had to tweet about it. And now I haven't got the full details on this. I just saw it before air, but I'm assuming the whole crew is in Paris. Greta is and speaking, so I don't have the full details on that just yet. I just saw about that, so we'll kind of get into what we do know or what we have seen about that, and then of course the riots going on, and we're so apt to call them the LA riots because it's like
you got to ask which one now if you talk about the LA riots.
Yeah, because this is actually a really big deal that's unfolding, and we all know that LA will. I mean, that's a historical term. LA riots is, not just, we're not talking about one time in history here, and there's a lot of back and forth to unpack on that. It's also happening in New York and a lot of other major cities, and it's going to continue to happen. So we're going to get
seeing Phoenix on the list of like the following cities all have stuff going on, and I'm like, I was downtown. Yeah, there's nothing in Phoenix. There's nothing's happening here. Maybe once for an hour.
On Indianapolis's local news, they were like, there's a protest going on about the travel ban, and then it showed like 8 people with posters or poster boards, and I was like, you fucking assholes.
The travel ban from like the previous, did he redo a travel ban?
Yeah, no, there's a new one. There's travel ban 2.0.
Breaking news, I'm learning now there's been a second travel ban has hit the country.
Right, it's because we're being spun in circles. Some weeks we come on and it's like, oh man, it was actually kind of a quiet week. Everybody was on vacation for whatever reason, and then we'll just kind of talk about things generally. But no, this was like a news slam type of a week.
Sorry, the first headline when I type in travel ban is a muted backlash to Trump's travel ban. I'm like, that's because I don't think people know about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's what it is. And shout out to the chat real quick. Hey to Are You Time Traveler 2, one of our regular viewers. Thank you for saying hello and watching today. Thank you all, anyone who's watching live. We do take questions, comments on the air. We are live. Again, we do get questions about that periodically, but we got a full hour for you, so let's jump on in. I think we should start where
I want to start with that travel ban. I just want to talk about which 12 countries he's
I don't think it's the same ones as last time, although I don't have that memorized exactly because it's just like I can't keep track of the stupid shit that he does.
So I'm on like my third article here, and they're all like, which include, and then list like 2 of them, and I'm like, no, just tell me the 12. 12 isn't that many countries.
It's like mostly Middle East, and I think like some of like I don't know. It's a lot of. I saw a map today, but it was such a flash that I wasn't able to metabolize it. Okay, I know I saw Iran on there, but
here's one on. Instead of a list, they've given me a globe map that I have to look at. Just put them in a list for it. It's fine. I'll just read them all. Oh, not read them all. Oh, here, I can just throw up on the thing. We have technology.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's been some updates too, but I didn't have a chance to really read about it. Yeah, that's kind of what I saw as well.
Turkmenistan. What? We're beefing with Turkmenistan? They were our funniest ally. Why is Turkmenistan our funniest ally? Because they are an open dictatorship in the way that they describe North Korea as, but actually, and we've just been hanging out with Turkmenistan. He has a hilariously long name, the dictator. It's like Rabameni. Like it's hilarious. Like freaking what's his name? Not the new Colbert, who's British, John Oliver. He did a thing about it, which was back when I watched it. Myanmar, Laos, Somalia,
Well,
Burundi.
doesn't Turkmenistan have a lot of our military bases? I mean, everywhere.
That's what I mean. They're like U.S. do whatever you want. So we're like, great,
Oh
you do
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you want.
yeah. Yeah, we're saying the same thing in a different way. Okay.
But it's funny that they're on the list. Even all that groveling Slavish nonsense doesn't get you not on the list of we don't like you countries. Sierra Leone, Togo. Come on, I couldn't even find Togo if you asked me to. Republic of Congo. I thought it was Representative Congo for a second. I'm like, wait. Okay.
Come on.
Oh,
No,
Cuba.
yeah, so,
I can't believe it. I can't believe they did Cuba.
But once again, don't. I mean, Trump signed off on this, but don't sit there and say that he picked these countries. This is a Stephen Miller production. This has got that all over it because he can't. You show him a map, he's not going to be able to find anything. So keep that in mind again. We're dealing with somebody who's terribly stupid about just basic things. So he likes the idea of the authoritarianism. He's trying to position himself as a dictator, but he doesn't know how to do it. So he's got to rely on these super evil, horrible people to tell him what to do. And
these are like this is the fireworks. This is the like look. It looks like something is happening.
Yes.
What's actually happening? It looks like something though.
Well, this is another kind of thing that, I wanted to kind of filter into the discussion about the Trump v. Musk stuff, because I'm not fully unconvinced that their whole, bitch fight on the internet, which I know we have two bitches who fight and say dumb shit on the internet who are obsessed with the internet. So like, yeah, okay. But also I'm not super unconvinced that it wasn't some sort of living out their WWE fantasy, type of a scenario where they fake a big fight or whatever and fake all this stuff to just try to distract from what's going on with everything. Cause we're yelling at each other about the bill and not seeing the bill, and I'll give money to Democrats, and and Elon's a jerk, but he was, when you have a special appointee of the government, that is only for 130 days anyways. So he was going to go out, whether quietly or loudly, no matter what. So his time was already up, and then magically they get in a fight like right at the end of it. So it's like, maybe it's like just don't. We all kind of are in this sort of, what do we believe? What can we trust? What is real? Because none of us know, So my feeling of it is I could believe it either way. I could believe that it's a real scenario where they're really, bitching at each other now, but just quieted down suspiciously. But also some people are like, okay, well, Trump wouldn't agree to being tied into the Epstein stuff. This is common knowledge. It's been for years. We know that his name appears in some form or fashion within that material. I wouldn't necessarily think that Elon had any real access to that material specifically. So he would just have to say what everybody else already just kind of knows about it. I don't think he's got special information on that. So to me, it seems a little bit staged, but I guess we'll have to wait and see about all of that. But I do think that this was, and as was just mentioned in the chat. I don't necessarily believe this either. There was supposedly an actual physical fight between Elon and someone, and that caused that black eye. They don't have a goddamn fucking White House fight club. Like, come the fuck on. Like, this is not happening. Like, they're gonna act, because you can't believe it. Like, if somebody legitimately said, I was in the room, I saw it happen, I saw this literal physical fight happen, you couldn't believe that person. You couldn't believe 10 of those people. If somebody in the room says, oh, it was complete bullshit, never happened, everybody's, faking it. Like that one guy, I can't remember who it was, but there was a congressman a few years ago that came out and said, all of this is bullshit. Everyone is lying. People get along just fucking fine. It's not real. Would they come out here and yell at each other and say all this stupid shit? It's fake. It's not true. Everybody's friends. Because that's what I surely believe is the case. So I can see arguments and things happening, but I could see people who don't have any idea of decorum and spoiled brats used to getting their own way and not getting their way. I get that. But at the same time, you can't believe what you're being told. There's no reliable source whatsoever who could sit there and say, I saw it, and that be reliable. Or people say, I didn't see anything, nothing happened, and that be reliable. So I don't believe necessarily, I think he probably just punched himself in the eye pulling up his bed sheets at night. So I'm not going to go in on this. He's such a tough guy. He's so tough and mean, and the fist fights, and get the fuck out of here.
So I really hate doing like psychoanalysis, and there's a lot of quote alternative media left the things where they'll end up talking about like, oh well, you see in their soul, and this is why they made that. I don't think people are like necessarily have these like. I don't think people necessarily act based on their emotional like wants. I think they act more based on like the situation that they're in, the conditions that they're in, rather than it comes from the inside and then goes out. I think it starts outside and then comes in, then comes back out. But if you take Elon's the like where it kind of got to a fever pitch, or what he says he's mad about, that being that the Doge cuts did not work, were not implemented. Well, you got some like temporary ones through executive actions, but as soon as not even as soon as they leave office, I think they've already like voted to reverse half of the things about. So like the executive action cuts did happen for a brief amount of time, but I'm pretty sure they've all either been undone, are being undone, or will be undone as soon as this administration is out. So after
they amounted to nothing is the headline.
Yeah, after the vote took place, they that's because that's how it works. Is he's like, here's all the cuts, we executive action them for now, but now you all have to vote in Congress to make these cuts actual cuts, to make them a permanent thing, an actual reduction in the budget.
We're not fucking doing that.
And yes, so I could see that if you come in there and you're actually believing at least one half of the Uniparty's nonsense about we want to reduce the deficit, we want to reduce spending, we're the Republican Party, we want smaller government and all that nonsense, which we know they don't actually believe because they also make all their money off of our bloated, horrible government through various military contracts or just straight up freaking speaking fees, the things that we all know.
How bills like the Farm Bill are written so that it's like a no-win situation for anybody but them.
There's no reason that Congress would vote to codify those cuts, even the people who get up and talk about how much they want to cut government, because they would just be cutting their own money. They'd be cutting their own paycheck.
And nobody's going to do that. It's like free money. You don't have to do anything for it except say, yeah, okay. I mean, like anybody, that's how we end up in this corrupt situation, is that you take people like who, no matter how convicted that they seem to be or pretend to be, you wave money in front of their face and they're going to take the money. That's literally how that works.
Except for like Thomas Massey. He's like the only guy, I don't believe with all, like me and him definitely don't agree on a lot of things, but he seems to be the only guy in Congress where he's like, I said I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do that thing. And then every year they threaten to primary him and he's like, do it, bitch. They did it last year, didn't work. And when he's good, it's great. It's super fun to watch Massey when he's like when you line up on a thing, but he's still in the machine. It's just he gets to be the one or couple guy. He's like the Bernie of the right, where he gets to like pretend.
Yeah, exactly. The designated. I mean, these guys are playing roles, and that's where I got to that whole WWE thing. Is you got a heel and a hero, and these things are always going on, and it's just revolving villain nonsense because they're all playing for the same team. There's only so many corporations and billionaires to take money from, and they're all trying to shake the tree. And that's exactly what as soon as this, dust up. First of all, I'd like to back up a little bit and say with this whole taco Trump thing that stands for taco or Trump always chickens out. This is a fact, actually.
I think that led, if you want to believe this is an actual fight, I think that's the kind of shit that led to it. He's like, I'm a big bubba, I'm going to do all this stuff. And he's all, cool, do it. And he's like, well, actually, I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah. If we backtrack into Trump's previous administration, he blustered and bullshitted, and he did some awful things. Let's not forget. But everything
big televised crime, and everyone goes, "See, he's doing
everything that he promised he was going to do. He did not pull through or come through. And then once again, we're going through the same thing. Everything he promised he was going to do, he has not gone through on. And then the fucking what are the Democrats are like, you're such a taco, you chicken. We got a taco truck. Like, okay, maybe don't goad this guy into nuclear war, you fucking idiots. Like, what are you doing? That doesn't let's flash back also to the beginning of this presidency where there were photographs of Chuck Schumer and Trump happily interacting and greeting each other. They know each other. Okay. So again, this is theater. This is fake. It's completely untrue. And again, they serve the same, masters because there's only so many people paying them to do these things. So that is where we are and how we are. So you can't believe like what they're like when somebody comes out as a firebrand and is like, I'm going to this, I'm going to that, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. It doesn't, and nothing happens. The same would have been true with Bernie, which has been pointed out many times on this show. He might have gotten one little concession that some people were willing to give on. But I feel like a lot of this theater shit going on between him and Musk was in the hopes of kind of hiding the travel ban, in the hopes of hiding what ICE is doing. It just didn't possibly work in any. And also, you've got a lot of delusion on both sides of this too. These guys both believe they're the smartest guy in the room. Musk literally believed if he gave Trump like $200 million or something like that, that would like give him access to the American government. And to Trump's credit, and I don't do this often, but like how fucking like smart of him was to be like, hell yeah, bud, sign the check, bro. You can come in and do whatever you want. Hatchet job this government, pew pew. And then meanwhile, like the check clears, and he's like, "Go fuck yourself, idiot." Just like he does to everybody. And if you believe at this point that Trump is going to come through, like if you're doing a business deal with him and you think that you are going to come out on top of something, like you're not. And it's your own fault for thinking so. So that I think is just hysterically funny because I hate them both. So
guess what? This ties into that book I keep bringing up, because if they read a book called Super Imperialism by Michael Hudson, Elon Musk would know that it is literally impossible to cut any spending from our budget, because that is how all of this nonsense keeps going. We don't make our money off of exports and products or development or industry anymore. We make them off of holding the world economically hostage through our massive debt. So our debt must go up. We must issue new treasuries. We must continue this cycle of we send you a bunch of garbage grain, blow up your market, you send us back dollars. Meanwhile, we've taken your gold over on a ship, Venezuela, and all this. Like, all of the government is the debt. The purpose of Washington at this point is a life support system on this gigantic ball of debt that we have. So Elon Musk, who does not know this, comes in and he's like, oh, these guys keep talking about cutting this debt. Wow, we are all, high five, everybody. We all have the same goal. And then he actually tries to do it, assuming he actually tried to do it. Because if he did, he would receive the same result as if he was fake trying to do it. You still can't do it. Whether or not he was honest is kind of irrelevant. Imagine he is exactly pure in all of what he said. He did exactly what all of his intentions were what he telegraphed to us. I just want to cut the budget. And now Trump has, his administration has a budget that has both cut some things, yet is larger than, like, they cut $1 trillion and found $1.5 trillion new spending of money to waste. So talking about wasting money, you want to talk about these riots?
Yeah, well, just to kind of put a cap on that conversation, unless either one of those idiots pull through on their threats, then I think that's right there where we get this is all lies and bullshit and smoke and mirrors, because we haven't seen Trump actually go through with pulling Elon's massive amount of funding that he got for every single stupid thing that he did.
And Elon is part of that waste, and he's still, I don't think he gets it. I don't think he understands.
Yeah, no, right? And if he actually did have information regarding the Epstein list, he hasn't revealed it. So that to me says that they were on some level engaged in some just sort of distraction tactic, as the government does.
He did delete that tweet where he talks about, hey, Trump's on the Epstein list, why don't you ask him about it? And that's why he won't do anything, haha, which was the funniest thing that's happened in a long time. It was a great tweet. But you're right. He probably is like, crap, all right, I'm back down to earth, and I've realized if I don't get this government money, like, I'm one of the chosen, not quite he's not an elected American Idol guy, but if you think Elon Musk is actually the richest person in the world, you're a little bit gullible. He is like one of the designated popular rich guys who gets put out in front of us.
Yeah, well, while the real rich guys stay in the shadows. I mean, so
that's what I mean.
Exactly
you never hear about.
Yeah, and as Jared said, I think that this was hopefully a distraction tactic from all this military nonsense going on. Not to leave out also this stupid military parade that he wants for his birthday, Trump, that is, that he got denied the last time, and now he's trying to make this happen.
Like, Russia and Ukraine is going nuts right now, and no one's talking about it at all. It's weird.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of shit going on with that. It's like there's so many things that I think that they wanted to be like, we're public personas, we can, and people love us like celebrities, we think, so we're going to just try and really kind of take the heat off of all these other fucked up things that are going on right now. Didn't work. And it never does. And I always love to watch things backfire in Trump's face. I think that's maybe one of the funnest things that we get to do as having to live through this, is he thinks he's so smart, and the people around him think they're the smart ones. They do these idiotic things, and everybody's like, you're fucking idiots. And then this happens. So yeah, LA riots.
I think if anything is being distracted from, or like, speaking of distractions and what, 'cause that's what this confused look on my face. I'm just sitting here trying to, like, what of all the things that are happening are the ones that matter, and what
Yeah.
things that are being shown to us that do matter, what are they at, like, what's the real significance of it? Because it's not that the media, as soon as I start using these words, I sound like a crazy person. But it's not like the media
Right.
manufactures these riots. And
They do. They fan the flames at the very least.
I'm not saying riot to be like a pejorative against protest. I could say protest also, but it's, they don't cover the protest element. They cover the riot element. And we know factually that the feds infiltrate these riots. They spur them on. We've seen the, like, pile of bricks mysteriously
Oh
placed.
yeah.
We've seen
Or
all the videos
cars
of,
get
like,
set on fire, and it's like nobody actually saw who did
it's
it.
like, who set that fire? Like, you see the guy just walking, just window, and they're like, who are you? And then you're like,
Yeah. In his
And-
sped shoes, like runs away, like no, not me.
and realize we know factually that they do this on, quote, both sides. It does not matter if this is Jan 6th and you got FBI dudes in the crowd who are like, go in the Capitol and fuck shit up, or
Yeah,
if it's
right.
all of 2020 when we had all the stuff we described, got neatly piled set of bricks. It's because they want to catch the most revolutionary elements of society, the people who are the most likely to actually do something. Because at the moment, these protest actions, if we want to get, like, Marxist about it, you could describe this as, quote, adventurism, or probably adventurism is more like an assassination, where you, like, run up and, like, have a target and you, like, make a squad, and like, you could, if Luigi for some reason was like a hardcore Trotskyist, that'd be adventurism, which doesn't actually help. If anything, it kind of creates a weird negative backlash where now people are like, oh, these scary people are gonna fucking whack me in the streets. So, like, it's not
Right. You
a
got
good
to
idea.
create that fear in the regular American to
It
believe that
creates
this is
fear.
true.
This would be more like if you go through what is it? I think it's Lenin's "What Is to Be Done." He argues against relying on the spontaneity of the people. That, yes, the people will come together and spontaneously just, like, start doing stuff sometimes, but never. Never? I think never. Find a historical example if you can. Those don't spin into a greater, like, class-based revolution thing without some kind of structure under it to be like, look, guys, we see your anger, let us not lead and be like, you're all dumb and wrong, and we'll tell you the correct way, but you have to have some kind of focus as to, like, what are your demands, what are the goals, what are the strategic actions being taken. Like, I would love right now if all the LA stuff would move to the ports. Shut them down for a couple of days, and we'll see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
Like, all the tactics we talk about, like, don't just stand in one why don't all go to a central location where you can be easily arrested. Do 1,000 protests on every corner of the city. Good luck. Like, let them. There are more and less effective tactics that can be implemented, but
It's also
deportations
playing on
have not
people's
actually.
emotion. Well,
So
go
say that
ahead.
again?
Well, I was just this is playing on people's emotion, because what ICE is being protested for is their horrible open air actions.
Which aren't new.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not like this started in January.
right. And again, we haven't even reached the deportation levels of, Obama or Biden. But and then you have
Even
liberals
month
out
per
there being
month.
like, look how gracefully they ruined people's lives. And it's like, this is your hill to die on. Like, this
When
is
I talk about the media doesn't start things. They just, it gets to decide what gets spotlighted. The deportations are not new. ICE actions like this are not new. They have been going on since well before even the first. Who was it? Wasn't it W. Bush or Clinton or somebody that, like, created ICE? Like, it's not a
Yeah,
very old
2003.
agency. Yeah, 2003. New agency's
Yeah,
been going on for a while. It's just now they're getting put. Well, one, people have more cell phone cameras, but even that's been going on for a while. They're getting put on the news more. They're getting put into your algorithms more. Like, we're being told about it more often. Why? Why do they want us focusing on it now and not during Biden's or even Trump's first thing? Like, and I don't really have an answer for that question.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, it's sort of a remains to be seen thing, because even the media are going through a new era of things compared to how they used to be able to do things, where they
everything's up in the
control
air right
narrative.
now. That's why it's kind of
Right.
exciting in a not positive necessarily way. But
Yeah.
right and left don't fucking mean anything right now. Like, everybody's all over the place, and this could settle anywhere.
yeah, so this is in some way, it's, as Jared said, why are they not doing this more strategically? Because this is just people literally putting themselves in the streets because they're angry and upset about what's happening. So it's playing to people's emotions. We're not really seeing a big organization, because just for the same reason there's no organized left. We basically are on vibes. We're on feelings. We're on anger primarily about the injustices, about everything that we're seeing that we know that can easily be fixed and isn't being fixed, about a rigged system, about a uniparty, such and such and such and such. All these very fixable problems. But when we see these kind of actions happening, whether you're literally seeing it on CNN or you're seeing it from, a cell phone camera view of things, on Twitter, you are, it's in your face somehow or another, and then that's kind of where we end up on this. It's like, even the mainstream media is trying to figure this out in the same way as we are, because they want to capitalize, obviously, and get that ad revenue off of what is happening, but they're struggling to do that because of the media, personal media era that we live in. So that's, maybe this leads to the greater organization that we hope to see, that that really gets things into a better place. But what we're seeing right now is people playing on emotion, because the reason that this is so why did this happen now instead of 2 weeks ago or a month ago or 2 months from now? So why is it happening now? Because we are in graduation season. We are also in Father's Day season. It's the beginning of the summer in a lot of places. People are going out.
Got to kick off another whole summer of protests so we can then come around and crack down on everybody next year.
Correct. And we also are seeing really wild things happen right out in the open. In at least 2 instances in California, in the LA area. And once again, this needs to be pointed out. If you don't live in LA, if you haven't been there, if you're not familiar, you're in the rest of the country. LA is massive. Yeah, massive. It's like the size of a state on its own.
It's very funny because 2 people will be like, I live in LA. It's like, oh, you guys are next to each other. It's like, no. We are 2.5 hours from each other by car.
Yes,
we're both in LA.
Is the size of some states. LA
and the traffic is fucked, so
gigantic.
It sucks to get across.
Right, yeah, that too. It might be easier to navigate if that wasn't such a problem, but
that's why Taylor Swift takes a plane from LA to LA, because it's so.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So when Trump puts out tweets going, LA was about to fall. Oh, what, this little bit of it right here on a map has. Yeah, right. So it's like these tiny, he's ridiculous anyways, because he doesn't even know. But the whole idea of all of this is, at least in 2 instances so far. Not to mention, we know that they're going and trying to take day laborers. They're going into immigrant communities and trying to take immigrants out, out of the street. People are getting pulled off the street. We know that's happening. But a new layer, a new facet to this, and this is a lot of where the Gestapo comparisons are coming in, because this is absolutely that. In 2 instances so far, in elementary schools, and I want to stress that I'm talking elementary schools, in the Los Angeles area. I'm not exactly sure where, but this has happened twice in the past few days. ICE agents, and these guys, a lot of them are mercenaries, by the way. ICE agents went in plain clothes to these schools, and went to and Jared can, understand this a little more innately as being a former teacher, but they went into these schools and went to the administration and said, we need these students to bring out these students. We have the parents' permission. We're here to pick them up. Not identifying that they were there for any reason, for ICE. Not saying that they were ICE. As if literally a strange man came into a school and said, I need this child. Give me this child. And the schools are like, what in the fuck? No.
If they pull a badge out and just start going through stuff, you can't really, I don't know what you do, but if they're following any kind of public school policy I've had, you just go, oh cool, let me call their parents. And you just call the parents. It's like, you don't just turn a kid over. Trust me, bro, I'm here to pick up Melanie.
That's exactly what they tried to do.
We're ready for that.
Bro. That's what they tried, because obviously a tactic of literally stealing, kidnapping children.
If it's a private school, I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but Any
Well, there's
public
no
school should never.
hyperbole there. It's completely true. They literally tried to go in and kidnap children. In
I heard
some
they
way
busted up a like an elementary school graduation
that
and just started
happened
yanking
too.
people.
Yes. So they went to
Well,
try to steal
nothing
children
shocks
in
me at
these
this
at
point.
least 2 instances. The schools followed typical school protocol and were like, "Hey, strange man, no," and would not hand over these children, which obviously was some sort of ploy to souse out their parents or their family members, what have you. So this is hitting people in the fields effectively, and they are not organized, so they're going out personally, bodily, and saying, "I'm putting myself on the line out here to tell you no." And LA has a long, robust history of doing such of a thing. This is also going on in a lot of other major cities as well, too. Like, we're just using this as the headline here because we know that it's a major immigrant city. And we know that it's something that is a really hot button issue, and Trump has personal beef with Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom.
Trump has
meet your new president, by the way, Gavin Newsom. I said he was going to be the nominee with when they forced Kamala on us. I thought for sure it was going to be him, but he wasn't ready. He's had to cook. So that evil bastard is going to be your next president.
I do not bring this up in any way like minimize what's happening now, but just to bolster my point of this is not new. So why is it happening now and not any previous time? December 13th, 2023, when Joseph Robinette Biden was president. This is UCLA law. Damning new report reveals the Biden administration's unlawful treatment of children in immigration courts. Damning new report. There's tens of thousands of... All right, like, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you understand the point I'm making. Like, it's not even new that it's kids. It's not new that it's in any of these situations. It's not new that they're just grabbing people off the streets. That has been happening since this agency... that's the reason they created the agency, so they can do weird Gestapo shit like this, roll up in an unmarked van and grab you. It's been happening the whole time. And why has it been either previously kept secret and now isn't, or is now being emphasized? And I believe it is partially to get us ready for Gavin Newsom, and mainly to kick off one of the potential, because we're going to have our constitutional crisis here. Like every time Trump's president, you got to have one of them. Before it was, can the president stop weapons shipments to Ukraine? And they said, no, we actually will impeach you over that. And they did. And this year it's going to be, can the states ignore the feds? And California is testing that out hardcore. In fact, we have Gavin Newsom sues Trump over national guard. Like this is obviously came out within the last couple of days. The lawsuit hasn't gotten anywhere yet, but says that Trump manufactured crisis in California. Oh my God. Gavin is accusing Trump of making a fake crisis, and I'm basically saying the opposite, aren't I? I think California's doing that because Gavin, or the machine, I should say, the guys don't make any decisions. The last one who made a decision was killed in Dallas.
Right. Very publicly had his head blown off in a parade.
You don't get to actually make decisions. You are an American Idol contestant, and he is currently doing a big push for the phone votes, where Gavin Newsom needs to be able to run on, I stood up to the president, I took my state of California, and we did all these big blah-blah-blah fights. And I don't think that Gavin Newsom is ready to kick off a civil war, but he wants to be able to sit in court, because it's all liberal, so they want to just do some paperwork of like, I had the principle to stand here. Well, he doesn't mean he's necessarily going to like fight the National Guard even. He just wants to do all of the posturing necessary to be in a campaign in 2028, I guess. Or if it's not him, it'll just be the next guy up. But this is his big swing, it looks like.
He's basically it. I mean, he's kind of like they're favoring him.
I've heard Pete Buttigieg. I've heard a lot of Buttigieg talk.
I think he's just too unpopular, and you would never win over the anti-gay crowd.
I thought Gavin Newsom was unpopular until today and yesterday, when suddenly I see a lot of my friends who were talking about how this guy was like Hitler incarnate, how like, well, I don't want to vote for him in the referendum, but I guess like, like how he's the worst guy ever. And now they're like, man, I love when Gavin Newsom gets on TV and is a sassy bitch to Trump. And I'm like, that's all you need? You just need somebody to like go, and that's your guy now? That's all it takes?
It is. That's how, it's like hard to be like, everybody is so stupid, but everybody is so stupid by design. They've been made to be this way.
Newsom is suing Donald Trump over the mobilization of National Guard to quell immigration-related protests. That's certainly a way to say it, right? Immigration-related protests in Los Angeles. The complaint, filed Monday by California Attorney General Bob Bont. I wonder how many random innocent parents that guy sent to prison. That was Kamala's old job, remember? Attorney General of California.
Yeah, right.
I gotta not get off track here. On behalf of the governor, against the president, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the defense, is it Hegseth? Heggers over there, uh, and the Defense Department argues that Trump's federalization of the National Guard contravenes core statutory and constitutional restrictions. It added that the defendants have overstepped the bounds of law and are intent on going as far as they can to use the military in unprecedented, unlawful ways. In a statement about the lawsuit, Newsom and Bonta, the Attorney General, accused Trump of creating a crisis in California. This is him intentionally causing chaos, terrorizing communities, and endangering the principles of our great democracy. It is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism, said Newsom. The president is trying to manufacture chaos and a crisis on the ground for his own political ends. Later Monday, after Hegseth deployed around 700 active-duty Marines from Camp Pendleton to Los Angeles, Newsom said in a post on X that California will sue to stop this too. The courts and Congress must act. Checks and balances are crumbling. This is a red line. They're crossing it. Wake up. Trump is destroying democracy. And what are we going to do about it? Wag our fingers sternly. In another post
firmly
on X,
worded tweet.
Well, a firmly worded lawsuit, it turns out. Newsom called up which I mean, yes, it's like, see, look, he's suing, and it's like, how many deportations has that stopped? How many deportations has rioting stopped? Like, how many people has gotten run over by cars? Probably a lot, like a lot of arrests. I think it was 190 something arrests. I don't necessarily think it is a great strategic move to go down and voluntarily get arrested and beat up by the cops. I think it's better if you stay out here with us in the fight because, like, unfortunately, as we learned in 2020, you can burn down police stations. You can do basically anything, and you'll get your local people to be like, we promise we're going to do stuff. I'm talking about Minneapolis specifically right now, where they burned down the Precinct 3, and all the city council people were like, we are going to dissolve our whole police force and do all this stuff. And then by the time the voting actually got around, all those people were kicked out of office, and the police were more heavily funded. And that was repeated. That was the best case. Everything else was worse.
Now
everywhere else in the country.
Every city in America has a fucking cop city now because of what happened.
We have a $1.2 billion Phoenix police budget. I live in Glendale, which is right next to Phoenix, which has its own police and its own budget. And so, it's not that I don't agree that people should not be getting snatched off the streets and taken away. Mexican Americans have lived in California since before California was California. We all know this. We don't have to run down the whole ridiculousness of that. Oh, they're waving the wrong flag. Motherfucker, how many Israeli flags have we been seeing in the last few months? Are we going to kick all them out of the country? Because I think we should, because they're all in Congress. Everybody in Congress is sitting there waving Israeli flags.
Yeah.
Like, if you wave a Mexican flag in these protests, like, it's not just that, like, I love Mexico more than America. It's not a state of Mexican nationalism. It's a state of, like, look, this is our kind of cultural heritage, and especially in the LA area, that's like a common normal thing of, like, I am Mexican American. They don't think of themselves not as Americans, but in a very literal and historical sense. It's like, we have been here since 1500, like, at least, and that's just when the Spanish showed up. So, like, acting like this is some, like, we'll just go back to your country. It's like, what do you mean, go back to what?
This is it. My family's been here for thousands of generations. Fuck off.
In one of our first wars, I think it was Spanish-American War or something like that, we were rolling in, taking that territory. I say we, like the the newly formed USA over in the 13 colonies area was coming over, and they're like, look, people who already live here, if you fight for us, America, we will just hand you your citizenship. You'll be awesome right after this. And then, of course, they lied and pushed them all over that line, like as many people as they could over the line, massacred towns of random people who've lived there for hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, it helped out with the whole, like, native ethnic cleansing and all of that. But to pretend that we're like, oh, we just have to remove all these foreign provocateurs is an insane position to take. And please listen, that is me saying this, communist. This is me. I'm supposed to be the enforce the borders guy. Not like this. What? These are people who have lived here forever.
Yeah, and I really don't give a shit, and I think most people don't give a shit if you are illegal or not illegal. It literally doesn't matter, and I don't care. So that's the whole argument, I think, behind all of this. This is just like a non sequitur situation where it's like, look, I'm doing something. I swear I'm doing something, which every single administration has done before. So, and then that's, again, you described it a little bit earlier. What we're seeing here is in action, the ratchet effect, which is that they, just quickly that the Republicans, usually who have played the revolving bad guy in most of this happily and comfortably, will not things don't move forward, and then like when they do move forward slightly, it's like, oh, this is so much better. And that's what we're enter Gavin Newsom, because now they say like, oh, well, look at all these horrible things that they did that just only Republicans and Trump did. So like when you see somebody like a devil like Gavin Newsom come in and it's like, oh, he's such a breath of fresh air, he's so much better than Trump, we got to use him against Trump, he's so much better, and he's doing the same goddamn thing, but like with nicer hair and a wider smile, and
show
it's
him
literally
picking
the same.
up a shovel and beating up homeless people. Like, get out of here,
literally.
you
Okay,
fuckers.
so you go back to like sort of the beginning of Gavin Newsom, and he's sort of this like, hey, cool, I'm awesome, nice hair, liberal kind of dude who people weren't that opposed to at the time. And then stuff started happening like we're gonna make like a for California a universal health care bill, and he's like, fuck that, I'm vetoing it, and if you do it, I won't pass it. And it's like, wait a minute, guy. And then like a little while later, we get stuff like this conflicting shit coming out, like where he's literally in person doing photo ops, tearing down homeless encampments and talking about the ills of homelessness, and yet making no provisions for them, not being like, okay, we tore this homeless camp down, I literally helped, but here I'm going to cut the ribbon on this great new facility, where they can live and be and do. That never happened. And then we get these weird pictures of him like with a stack of weird books, and he's like reading Beloved, and it's fake reading Beloved, and it's like, who is this fucking guy? And now we have him in this short history of Gavin Newsom. Now we have him literally doing interviews like where Trump is threatening to arrest him. He's like, do it. Ugh, like he's some sort of tough guy, right?
I want to see. I want the Newsom, but doing the like Trump photo, but with the fist up, but it's Newsom getting arrested, so he's just like, yeah, go get.
Yeah, so he is absolutely being positioned for the next run and to be the guy, because what we're looking at is an austere piece of shit, just like every other one, and they don't bother to act like they've got a personality or be cool or lie like Obama did, because that didn't work. Ultimately, it did in the moment, and people really bought it. But he's a cool guy, he's chill, he's laid back. Now he's out doing like billionaire shit, like fuck off, right? Like everybody saw that happen.
I hate that I have to learn about these things. I don't care about freaking. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, and I don't go looking for this stuff. And all the things that I repeat, I try really hard to keep it in the form of things that are publicly available knowledge that anybody can just look at, and it's not like, oh, I have to go to the dark web to find out about. Like, but like Gavin, people started talking about like, California is just like a mafia state that has like 3 or 4 families that have just been running it forever, and I'm like, really? Oh God, let me look into this. And then you look into it, like, yep, we got between the Browns, Pelosi's, Newsoms, and Gettys, and this is an article from 2019 from, I don't know, Cali Matters. Like, this is this isn't like a Fox News or Alex Jones or whatever going through. And then the article goes through and talks about, well, you see, there's William Newsom who gave money to this guy who ran this competitor, and then eventually end up with, oh, look, Gavin Newsom is running California. You got Nancy and Paul Pelosi over here doing stuff. Like, it's... Most of America is like this. It's the reason that it feels like everything's run by the mafia is because it basically is. For a long time, the government... Yeah. Remember how the government's line for a long time was that there is no mafia? It's like, wow, that feels really weird now, because it's like, oh, I get it, because they were just kind of working together. And that's like the model we've now based the American form of governance on.
Right.
Gavin Newsom will be, I'm just going to read like 2 paragraphs here. Gavin Newsom will be the first Democrat in more than a century to succeed another Democrat as governor. And the succession also marks a big generational transition in California politics. A long, dominant, geriatric quartet from the San Francisco Bay Area. Governor Jerry Brown, Senators Dianne Feinstein, Barbara Boxer, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have been slowly ceding power to younger political strivers. Moreover, Newsom is succeeding someone who'd be considered his quasi-uncle since his inauguration. Continues the decades-long saga of 4 San Francisco families intertwined by blood, by marriage, by money, by culture, and of course politics. The Browns, Newsom's, Pelosi's get. So like, go ahead, read about that. If you got some free time, you'll just get more and more disgusted But isn't that funny? How you're talking about how Newsom, he's just this cool guy, and you're like, oh, of course, his dad and his uncle, and right. Like, where'd this guy? He came out of nowhere. It's like like Jeb Bush. They try to like, oh, he's this normal Texan guy. It's like, yeah, we know who your dad is. But
right?
people ignore People ignore who Gavin Newsom's dad is. Like, this is just more dynasty, monarchical nonsense. This is like succession by, instead of blood, by money, but also blood in this case.
Yeah. No,
Justin Trudeau's dad was who?
Right? And that's how it works. I mean, and that's not something unique to America either. That's literally just how like human function works.
Justin Trudeau's dad used to run Canada, and then it was Trudeau's turn. And
right? and people that don't really see a problem with that, but they'll be like, yeah, fuck the monarchy in Britain. Nor do they have kings and queens.
China's a fucking dictatorship. China with its elections.
With its elections and its consequences for bad
Say what
behaviors.
you want about China. I mean, I understand that Xi Jinping's dad was also like in the party, but like it wasn't like Mao's son took over or then Deng's son took over. It's like it's definitely not like a bloodline thing of power. It does make sense that if one family's in the party, like you're probably going to have more people who are also into that because you grow up with it. But it's not just, oh, we will now hand this to the next of the richest families.
As if somehow that they're like earned it or guaranteed it, or it's like, here, that we're going to bestow this upon you. And it's like, man, all it is, it's still a monarchy. All it is just the words are different. You know, that's the whole thing. Like, that's what you're looking at the exact same thing.
There's
okay, yeah, so we're kind of we're gonna wait and see on this. So yeah, and again, I think that we want to kind of make it clear that we are not calling for people to go out in the streets and be violent and get hurt and things like this. If you feel like you have to do that,
don't get arrested.
Yeah, well, it's just that like we are not in a position to be like, go out there and do it, put your bodies on the line. No, that's an individual decision you are going to make if you are going to make it. I'm not going to call for people to do something like that. Like, that's just not our position to do that. Like, we're
like
more
a
from an
lawyer
organized.
Or something. If you actually have some kind of influence or power, by all means, try. Do what you can.
We would love to see it, like some organization come out of this, it's like people unionizing type of scenarios. Again, that's sort of like the dream wish there, but this may be the beginning of that. We don't know. It kind of still remains to be seen.
Go shut down the port of LA, and you'd be amazed what kind of concessions they're willing to make.
That's again, that's true. And it's
standing on the corner and getting pepper sprayed in your face and then put on a list and arrested is not. It's not good for anyone but the state, because now they just like, oh, that guy he's a little bit of a radical. Better write him down.
Right. And it fuels the rights fire. It fuels them. And they're like, like then the media will show you looting. And then, most of the country normally would like be like, hey, I don't give a shit, fuck Target, like, but then they're like, they'll put a reporter in the line and they're like shaking and they're vibrating and they're terrified. They're like, look at the spray paint that nobody could ever do anything about. It's like, give me a motherfucking break, you guys. Like, come the fuck on. Like, you are such babies about this shit. Like, I remember when this happened in 2020 and CNN, like, there was a guy, I can't remember who it was, but like, they were outside the CNN building, and this guy was literally almost in tears. One of their correspondents, he's like, I just want to make it home to my family tonight. And it's like, walk out, Ben. Like literally leave right now, Ben. Like, and it's like, what the hell is wrong with these people? So like, they're fake. Like the media is fake, and they want to be actors and want to be celebrities. You have a government who want to be celebrities that, none of these people have any skills or abilities or charisma or charm or anything that takes to do any of that stuff. Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, or talent. As we like to say. So, then that's where we get. And then when you live in a society that like, everything's on camera all the time, then it sort of makes, and we have influencers, it makes pseudo celebrities out of all of these people, so then they just play into that. Let's touch on this Greta story real quick before we wrap up the hour. Just to say what we've been observing. I think we all watched this. No, this was a symbolic gesture. I think that these people, there were 12 crew people, mostly journalists, and she was sort of like the figurehead of it. And
everybody on board, by the way, knows what's going to happen. Like, they're like, we're either going to get shot or they're probably just going to like calmly arrest us and then send us out. Like,
and
the whole point is to make them do it. To be like, look, don't shoot us. We're all kind of famous, and it'd be really bad for your ops if you shoot us. Don't shoot us. And they didn't.
But which is, they will do it anyway because they don't care about their optics at all. Like,
there's a line somewhere because they'll shoot a doctor who has his like shirt off, white flag. They don't care.
Mhm.
But if
Yeah.
you're, I guess, enough of an internet celebrity, they sometimes don't. But what was that incident 10 years ago where they just blew up? Basically, this exact same thing happened and they just shot him down. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact name of the ship, but this kind of protest has
This
been
has
done
happened.
before.
Yeah. And the thing of it, it's not like this is a new conflict. Again, we're always coming back to. But
45, baby.
but what this has done, and yeah, people are gonna be like, oh well, this is a stunt, blah 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 blah. Yes, it is
It
a
is.
stunt. Literally, that is the idea. That is the whole point, to literally attack this from a different angle and bring attention to this. Because why was there only one friendship boat out there? Why was there not like literally an armada of people from around different worlds, or around the world, or from different countries, put my words in order, who are following in this whole situation going there at once? Yeah, of course they're going to overtake one boat, but why weren't there all these people coming in and assisting in this whole process, more than could be stopped? So that is what this whole scenario has raised the question of. It's like, okay, you want to do something, you want to help, people want to be involved, and it's time for some mobilization on this. Not one little tiny little boat, not even a ship, like a boat of 12, like with 12 people plus crew, like journalists essentially, going out there doing this, because nothing really, because Israel doesn't care about the optics, so nothing really was stopping them from blowing up that boat, to be clear. Like that is 100% in their wheelhouse. That's something they absolutely would do. So just the fact that they didn't, and then wanted to cry baby about it afterward, is just sort of our dessert for the whole thing. But
I really hope that I really hope that Greta can continue this like little, I don't want to say face turn because I don't want to imply that she was like evil before, but she's a bit young and pretty clearly
she's very young. She's not much more.
She has like a condition that makes her look younger than she really is. She looks like she's like 12 and she's not. She's definitely over 21. But even back when she was like gaining popularity and she has like the very cherub with like childlike face, she wasn't quite as young as she looks. I'd have to look it up to know what the hell I'm talking about. But I like that she is, because you notice the hard cut of coverage stopping with Greta as soon as she got away from climate. Not just climate, but climate in a way that I think it says something if you're a climate change activist and you're being invited to places where everyone cries and gives you a standing round ovation, and you're like, you guys are giving me a standing ovation, and then none of you are going to do anything. And then they stand up again and clap again, and then they do nothing. There's like, okay, she's being waved around as look, we aren't doing anything, but we have this girl who gives them moving speeches, and we're gonna wave her around until she stopped being useful to that, because now she's like, in Gaza, none of you are doing anything, and they're like, okay, we're not gonna invite her to give a big
as soon as she realized and started coming out again, it went from climate guys to capitalism, and like that's basically
what causes all the climate shit.
Yes.
Fuck wars. We're doing wars for no reason.
War in
take down one U.S. military base. The number one emitter of pollution, carbon, whatever, in the world is China, and the number two is the U.S. military. Like, if the U.S. military was treated as a country, it's number two. It's not just America. It's not me and you, Nicolette, going out and just burning shit for no reason. Like,
like out there angrily with the fire.
The bombs, the drones, this junk, it is all connected. If you stop one, you do stop the other.
Right. And I think that what she's really succeeded in doing, especially in this, it's like, yeah, call it a stunt, call it a photo op, call it whatever you like. It is those things. But this issue, like laying down the gauntlet and saying, like, who's next? Let's do it. Like, let's go back. Like, let's keep this up. People, like, how about people drive in, and how about people like sail in, and we all try to meet at Gaza at the same time. Like, that is an organized plan. And that's sort of what we're going on about. Like, yeah, we realize organization takes a lot of work, and it's really hard. It's kind of impossible because people can't get along, even if you're on the same side of things. You're making the same point. The sock is red. No, the sock is red. Like, that's basically what the people, just how they behave. So it's really hard to organize. So, hopefully, the acting out, like the way that we're seeing people respond now, to ICE, like, it's sort of like, okay, it doesn't matter that they didn't do it when Barack was president, and they didn't do it when Biden was president. They're doing it now. All right, fine. Like, whatever, they're doing it, the people that feel like that. But, then you have a lot of people like us who've been speaking out against it, regardless of who was president for, a significant amount of time. But hopefully, like where we come from and where the people who feel like they need to be like bodily there, part of it in defense of their cities, like, you know, let's figure out some kind of unionization of people, like mobilization of people.
Because
And
you
the
can't
same
just do
goes with
2020
Palestine
again.
and Gaza.
You can't just
What's
do
that?
2020. You can't just do 2020 again because I don't want the results of 2020, which were none.
Right.
That's the reason. It's not
kind
because
of
I don't like. It's not like my personal feelings that I'm expressing. It's I
Yeah.
want results, and if the thing doesn't get results, you have to change tactic, or what are you doing?
Right. And we're not sitting here because we're like, oh, we've got to protect the cities, and we got, who cares? I don't. You know, rip it
The
up if
cities
you feel like
suck.
you
You
need
can't afford to live there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. That doesn't belong to the people. Like, you know, it's not even, they don't even have benches or bathrooms anywhere anymore. You know, like those places are so unconducive for people and just literally modes and vehicles for furthering capital. Like that, I don't give a shit about these places. I don't care. And all of it
Go
can
to
be rebuilt.
downtown LA and blow up all the like nothing. Not blow up, Jesus. What am I talking about? It's like there's nothing down like actual center city LA. There's just nothing there. There's like a
And
stadium.
it's empty a lot of the time. It's so quiet. You would
It's
think that like
concrete and tents.
yeah, and it's just nothing. Like it's basically this just giant empty city burning up electricity all day long, and it gets a bad rap. But like, yeah, if you're talking about like the central area, like nothing is just nothing there. There's nothing going on. People don't tend to live there. They can't afford to, so they go to the outlying areas, and that's the case with most cities actually. But that says something there. That says something that like the way that we do things is the cause of the problems. And even though I didn't decide it, Jerry didn't decide it, most people didn't decide to be that way, we are forced to live within that system. And taking to the streets is one method of arguing against that. But eventually, like take the what were they called, the Wall Street protests? I can't.
Occupy Wall
Was there a
Street.
name for that?
Occupy.
The Occupy movement. Okay, so they did go out in the streets, and they were out in the streets for a very long time, and then like it kept going on and it kept going on because literally nothing was changing and nothing was changing, and eventually that morphed into like a literal organization, and they don't really do anything, but they went from being the streets to turning into an organization.
I think that's going to be like, I know the Occupy protests again didn't accomplish what their goals were, but I think that's going to be looked back historically as like the inflection point where a lot of this shit because that basically led to Bernie. Like Bernie was like, "You guys are right, and I've been saying this for many years," and then like it all is like it's all continued.
Right. Yeah. And that's sort of the archetype, regardless of the fact that like it didn't really ultimately do anything. That is sort of the archetype of where things should go. Like they ultimately came to realize our street protests are not really doing anything. The media is not talking about it. People don't really care anymore. We're out here every weekend. First, we were out here every day.
The media just portrayed them as like weirdo, crazy dudes playing hacky sack, and it's like, no, we have very specific economic concerns and desires.
And yeah, so that's kind of just like the idea of that is better than like the execution of what happened. So it's like we like hopefully like to avoid the fallout from 2020, because in historical context, things like LA riots, like we're talking about Watts and you're talking about Rodney King and things like that, those are always usually represented historically and as a, hey, the stuff that was happening to people there at this time was a bad thing that should not have happened and race motivated, so shit had to change. So historically it's usually looked at in the right context. But in the in I don't want to say like the immediacy, but sort of like the middle era, like it just leads to cop cities. Like that's what we ultimately saw with the George Floyd protests and that, because like, yes, people felt so moved that they felt like they physically had to be there in person, whether they contributed any kind of violence or destruction or whatever or not. They felt like they had to like occupy the street and say, I am here. You're not going to do this in the dark. We're watching you. But then again, that led to ultimately bloated budgets in every city for police, further militarization of police, like what happened in Ferguson under Obama. And so it's like it works in the historical context long term, but it doesn't really work up close and leads us further and further to authoritarianism. And then that's how you end up with a Gavin Newsom as president for 2 terms, because everybody thinks he's great because he's exactly this holding the same policies, serving the same corporate masters, but he's doing it in a more charming way. So you think, oh God, at least it's not Trump anymore. And everybody goes back to sleep, just like they did with Obama and like they did with Biden. The deportation levels, as we have mentioned many times, but also in this show, were extremely high. Higher still than Trump has managed to achieve.
Have still not eclipsed the Biden, not in total numbers, rate of.
Yeah.
So even like
which I'm sure he's taking as a challenge. You know, I'm sure
he is trying his best. I'm not saying he's like, oh, I'm going to deport fewer people. No, but why is the anger? To me, it seems a very clear bit of evidence of like the media decides when we are supposed to get mad about what.
Right. And then bam, it's those flames. And also it's like, that's why you have the liberals being like, yeah, well, Obama and Biden deported like a zillion many people as Trump did, and they did it so nicely, and nobody was rioting in the streets. Okay, like first of all, that's a horrible argument. Second of all, like they just did it in a way that was more agreeable to the media and to people, where it wasn't in their face. Where Trump has this boner for military and authoritativism, where he wants to be the dictator, to be like, military, do my bidding. So it's out in the open, and people already hate Trump, and they hated Elon, and they hate all the people that are working for him. So they already feel like there's like a built-in enemy there, and that's why the Democrats can so easily coast through and do the dirty work, and the Republicans come out and it's like, oh, why are they resisting us all so much? First of all, they don't care, but like, why are they doing it? And that's because like, they're doing it in a way that is not agreeable to people. Those 2 administrations, those last 2 Democratic administrations ruined countless lives, and just because they weren't physically, roughing people up and dragging them about and trying to take children, that was still happening. It just wasn't in your face. And that's where, we ultimately are at. We're kind of at a stalemate in those terms. So it remains to be seen, at least for this show, where we're going to go with all of this, because we are not going to get out of this austerity loop. This is what it is.
I found an example of advanced wrecking. Like there's wrecking where you like run in when people are threatening to come together. To try and throw out, no, don't come together, and here's why. Like if I was sitting in a room trying to think of the weirdest shit possible to say about here we are. During these protests, remember that Mexico is a colonial state and is no better than the United States when it comes to the societal treatment of indigenous people. This isn't just wrecking. This is advanced nuclear wrecking. Right? No one come together. No one accomplish anything. Divide into smaller and smaller atoms.
Yes. And then, on the global scale, this is what we're looking at for like everything. We're looking at everything this way. And in the chat, we've got someone who mentioned civil encroachment and austerity with decorum. This is still violence, and that is true. So thank you, Sue. Now that's correct. That just because they do it in a peaceful, let's say, or like an acceptable way, doesn't mean they're not contributing to the horrible treatment of people who are just people. And a lot of the thing that has come out of this whole thing is Trump wants to be like, we're getting the gangs, and he doesn't even know when. Like he got an argument with the journalist who's like, this is actually 100% fake. It's not even a good fake, and it was just like printed letters of some across somebody's fingers. He's like, this is Times New Roman print.
They can't get the gangs because the gangs work with the government, which is another thing that sounds like a conspiracy. Just look at it; it's just out there. It's just provably there.
It's another form of capital. They're creating.
Well, how else do you distribute? What is probably the simplest way for the feds to get something in or out of the country that's like illegal in some way? Just do it through a gang. How do you distribute your drugs? Use a gang. How do you it's a very useful tool to just have some completely.
Are channels. They're just channels of shipment of capital and they are
It's
just
very, you
because
can just deny involvement very easily.
yeah.
Well, they're in a gang, they're lying. Like that.
Yeah, right. And because of their methodology and the way that they do it, and because it's not like sanctioned, but it's no different than what is being done at the top levels of government and corporation and the collusion between those two entities. So it's like there is a fabric here, there is a harmony here where crime, it pays, so to speak, and that's really where we are, and it's. And again, we're not, as Jared pointed out in our previous episode, and due to the rise of the super imperialist mind, we're not getting out of that anytime soon. So if it's possible for people to see a way to organize, for mutual aid purposes, for standing up against injustice, that would be the way to go, where we are somehow able to raise a new type, I won't say a new government, but because that we just end up in the same situation, but a new type of governance that nullifies the old governance, and that's how things move forward. Do you have a song for us this week, Mr. Jared?
I got nothing.
I'm
so freaking busy.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
that happens. Hey, he's not a machine, people, and that's a free concert when he plays for you. So
unless I did it wrong, did I play music last week, or did I think about doing it and then give up because I knew my tech would be bad? If not, I do have a new finished song that'll be out soon enough on streaming platforms.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got that to look forward to, so I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. Remember, you can get all of his music, his entire body of work, on pretty much any platform where you can purchase or stream music. So remember, you can check out his music. If you enjoy our theme song, that is courtesy of Mr. Jared as well. Go and download his music, and he'll get a few cents off of your purchases.
I
so
will.
we appreciate it. Yeah. All right. And then he can use your few cents to continue to make more music. Also, I've got a book coming out later this year, so I'll talk about that more another time. But I hate doing marketing. But that's about where we're going to leave you for this episode, or we'll just keep going. So we will see you next week with more and less answers about what's going on about everything.
Something will definitely have happened by next week. There will be something. There will be something to talk about. So we will catch up with you next week. You can always reach us on our socials, Social Contract One, Social Contract, everywhere on the things, and let us know if your questions, comments, whatever. And we will be back next week with another episode and maybe some new music. We'll find out. So thank you very much for joining us. If you are protesting, make sure to protect yourself and wear safety gear. It's my personal preference that you don't bring small children to these things because of how out of hand that they can get, and I don't want to see anybody hurt. Remember also, the police will shoot you unprovoked with non-lethal rounds, which and they go for the eyes. So and they do it on purpose. So be careful, be safe, do your best you can, and let's organize. Let's talk about organization. Give us some talking points if or if you're an organizer and you want to throw some ideas at us, and we'll talk about them. So thanks everyone. Take care, and we will see you next week. Bye. Bye guys.